Hello everybody, welcome back to the Room of the Ancient Mariner. My name is Mike and today I'm going to do a video on some Swedish metal releases. Now, what inspired me to start looking into some of these earlier original wave of Swedish metal bands was a documentary video by Ruthless Metal. It's a fantastic video here on YouTube. I'm going to copy it and link it in the description, and I urge everybody to check that out. Ruthless Metal is a very enjoyable channel with a lot of informative and entertaining videos and content. So check it out, support it, and I'll be honest, the original wave of Swedish heavy metal was not something that I was really well informed about, and back in the early 80s, early to mid 80s, when that wave of metal was kind of cultivating, it was difficult to get import releases, where I was at. So I would read, I'd get, like Kerrang! Magazine and Metal Hammer and things like that, and I would, I had heard of a lot of these bands, but their material wasn't readily available. And not too many of them, really none of them had broken internationally and become international successes, where you could get their stuff on major labels that, here in the United States. So I'd say it was very informative watching that video and learning the history of the Swedish metal movement. And I've recently picked up a few things on vinyl that are new to me, and I'm going to show just a few of those. Again, I'm just scratching the surface here. But one of the first things I'm going to show is this is arguably one of the originators, maybe the original Swedish heavy metal band. This is Heavy Load. This is their second album, Stronger Than Evil. This is a repress from I believe it's High Roller. I think it's. No, I'm sorry, it's No Remorse Records. This is a repress that came out in 2017, I believe. Anyway, very difficult to find an original pressing of this, and I wasn't really interested in spending that kind of money. But this is an absolute fantastic product. You see, I've got the hype sticker on there. Now let's take this out, and this is just a really good, well put together release. So we have the vinyl, and it's black vinyl, but it's got everyone knows what black vinyl looks like, but it's got the custom label there with some of the album art. So it's 180 gram vinyl. It sounds fantastic. But what we also get is this excellent gatefold with some fantastic photos. I mean, this is just great. This is the same high quality of stuff that you get with like an Iron Maiden live album or a collection. Just some really vintage, full color, high gloss photos of the band. And again, I want to say this original album was released in. It doesn't say in here, but it's sometime in the early 80s. But in addition to the fantastic gatefold cover, you get this really awesome insert here that's got more photos and lyrics. I'm looking for a date that this album was released on, and then anyway, not too much at it, but like, these are just, again, more fantastic photos and imagery. So if you're new to this band, like I really was, to be honest, I mean, I had heard of them in the lore of metal, and their comparisons to like American forefathers of classic metal like Sirathungal and that kind of thing. This is really awesome. And then in addition to the album, there's a CD. Oh, wait a minute, I stand corrected. Yeah, there is. There's a CD that has some unreleased tracks on it. So there's that comes with this package. So a very well put together package, with the repress, the lyric insert, and the CD of unreleased tracks. And if you hear like a slight death metal growl in the background, that's my dog who's looking at something outside. Hey, what's going on out there? You all right? Okay. All right. So let's put this one back away. And that was kind of, Heavy Load is kind of credited as being maybe the first Swedish heavy metal band. And then as I began to watch that documentary by Ruthless Metal, I just found out about a bunch of other groups that I like, and one of the albums that it's available for on streaming formats, and I have it on my Apple Music. Man, I just found that I really liked this album, and this is Axe Witch with Lord of the Flies. So this is an original pressing on Fingerprint Records, which was one of the labels in the forefront of the Swedish metal push. The only disappointment here with this album is that there's no lyrics with the insert. It's the same photo on each side. But this is the one and only album that I have from Fingerprint Records, and there's their custom label there. This album is just really, really good. It's got catchy riffs and good vocals. You can tell you can kind of hear that the vocalist here, Wallen, his last name, but you can kind of tell as you listen to it that it could be a European singer who maybe struggles with American dialect or accent from time to time, but it's all sung in English, and fantastic albums. My favorite song is the lead-off track, Axe Victim. Just a banger of a traditional metal song. So I was very happy to acquire this one, and that's one of the forefathers or classic albums of that new beginning wave of Swedish heavy metal. But I'm going to show this one that I never really thought about. This was maybe the only one that I've had this since it first came out in 1984, and it's what's playing in the background if you can hear it. I hate to admit that this just was not one of my favorite releases back in the day, simply because I'm not a guitar player, so I didn't really appreciate the shredding style of guitar. I recognized the talent, but I was more about just the overall songs and vocals. But this was Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force, and one of the things that I learned that I did not know is that, and I don't know specifically who that performed in this album, but somebody on here, probably the drummer, or I'm going to guess the drummer, or maybe the bass player, but some of the folks recruited to perform on this album were in the band Silver Mountain, who had an album called Shakin' Brains, and I remember always seeing that record like on the when you would get an import album that was a compilation of different at the time it was like a new wave of British heavy metal bands. But I remember on one of the sleeves there was always a picture of that album, Shakin' Brains by Silver Mountain, and growing up, that was just one of those albums that was, man, I wish I could get this somewhere because it looks cool. And now in today's age of the internet, you could listen to it. It's on my Apple Music too. And if I had found that back in the day, I would have thoroughly enjoyed that. But just a little, another connection to this whole Swedish thing. I'm really glad that I picked this up back in the day, and part of the reason this album it sounds stellar on when I spin it, because I didn't play it that often, so I didn't get the opportunity destroy the grooves with my less than professional grade record players that I had as a kid. But yeah, Yngwie Malmsteen, somewhere on cassette, I've got the Alcatraz, No Parole for Rock and Roll. I didn't break some of those out because I don't know where they're at, to be honest. But yeah, this is a good example of what was going on during that developmental phase of original Swedish heavy metal. Really good album. I'm kind of ashamed that I haven't listened to this and as knowledgeable of it as I should be throughout the years. But I've got a lot of his stuff. Trilogy was a great record. I don't have that on vinyl, but a fantastic release. Okay, and moving on, I had an album now. That was the original push of this Swedish heavy metal was traditional heavy metal sounding, and the thrash later on into the later '80s. Of course, there was thrash was so popular worldwide that the Swedish bands were doing it too. I don't recall a lot of Swedish thrash bands really becoming popular or famous, but one album made its way onto the Combat label, and I had it on cassette way back in the day, and I just always remember playing this cassette and thinking, man, this is a fantastic album. As far as I know, it was the only album the band ever released, and I've kind of always been on the hunt for it on vinyl. I don't know if there's a CD release of it or not. Again, you can find it on streaming services, but I was very happy to finally to find this for a decent price on an original pressing, and this Agony with the first Defiance. And this was released in, I should say here, I'll take it out and look at it. But this was on the Combat label with Under One Flag, I think was the European distributor. Combat, as you know, back in the 80s made a push with had all kinds of fantastic thrash metal releases on it. Let's take this out. Again, if there's any disappointment to this, is that there's no lyrics with the lyric sheet. I always wondered why bands went to the trouble of putting these kind of inserts together and not printing the lyrics for everybody. But I'm looking for a year here. I'll find it on the label. Anyway, this has the classic Combat camouflage label. 1988, I think, is when this one was released. That's that classic original Combat camo label. This is just an amazing thrash album. It borrows heavily from the U.S. Bay Area sound. If you like Testament and Exodus, I think those are probably who you'd find would be maybe the bigger influences of the sound that's going on here with Agony, the first Defiance. But just a superb album, really good, catchy, memorable thrash metal. This band did not really make it famous, and this album, I think, unless you're a connoisseur of the genre, and I'm sure there's people out there who are familiar with this, but this to me is always going to be one of those perfect examples of maybe third tier thrash from the 80s. I mean, you had everyone in the top tier, and then you had a lot of mid contenders, and then you had bands like this and I think the quality of this album could fall in the top two. I only put them in that third tier just because this was, as far as I know, their only release. So that's what I've got for some original pressings of the classic original run of Swedish heavy metal. I'm kind of be on the lookout for a lot of these other bands, and I don't even want to try to to talk about more than that I don't have to show. That's why I want to link Ruthless Metal's video. It's a fantastic documentary, very informative. It's very well put together. I wish I had the time and energy to make my videos as high quality as his. But subscribe to his channel. Give them a listen, or check them out. Lots of informative stuff, and that's a fantastic video on Swedish heavy metal. Oh, I did one of the big bands that I had some CDs to show. I don't have any vinyl. It was Europe. Europe, when they began their run of albums, were a bit heavier and had more of a traditional metal edge than what we were exposed to with the Final Countdown over here, because that was kind of the time where a lot of those bands were kind of run with the what was popular in metal, and have more of that hard rock pop metal sound. And even bands like Axe Witch kind of transitioned into a sound like that, and their albums that were released in the latter parts of their careers just weren't as high quality as the new stuff, unless that's your thing. Yeah, I'm happy to have some of these. I really really like this Heavy Load album. This is just a great product here, and if you're looking to pick something up that's kind of definitive of that original Swedish metal sound, I'd highly recommend you look for this. Again, it's the No Remorse Records repress, reissue of Stronger Than Evil. Good stuff. All right, that's what I've got for today. Actually, I got a few. I'm doing a few videos I'm going to be putting on the channel. But yeah, let them know your metal. Bang your head, throw the goat. I'll catch you next time.